rage, anger, pride. These are all tactics that the enemy uses to divide families and relationships. It's a divide and conquer tactic to separate people from the protection of numbers. And then if he is successful at separating relationships, then he can destroy the one or ones he is after. This is done quite frequently in marriages and also parent-child relationships. It's a divide and conquer. A house divided against itself can't stand. There are many times where the enemy will use an argument or use a misunderstanding to separate or isolate the person that they're really after. If we're not discerning, the enemy can use us in an argument to isolate us, to destroy us. We must be on guard against this tactic. The enemy is calculating and he looks for any little crack. Parents, rebellion is a tool that the enemy uses when there's an open door to do so, to separate the parent-child agreement. He knows that two cannot walk together lest they be agreed. He also knows that one could put 1,000 to flight and two can put 10,000 to flight. There is power in numbers. So if the house is divided, then there is no agreement. And if there is no agreement, then they can't put him to flight. There's an opening for the enemy and he can come in and wreak havoc in that house. I very rarely come on and tell about dreams. There are a few, but I don't do many. But this one, I think that it needs to be shared because there are things that we can learn from it. I'm going to share this dream and I pray that Yah gets the glory and you get the understanding. I dreamt that there were many little houses. It was a busy city. There were people all over the place. These people were lined up to get into various safe houses. The line was backed up. I was called to the front and I was calling out to my daughter to come in the house. My other children were there too. In the house, there were people from all over the world. I didn't know them in the natural, but in the spirit, I knew each and every one of them. We were all assigned to a place in the house. Each of us had a wall that we were assigned to pray against in the house. And we had to pray with all of our might. If anyone slacked and came off of their wall, then there were cracks, almost like sparks of fire that would go down the top of the wall and allow for an opening. Each person had their own wall in that house. There were walls all over that city. I knew that each of these people were from different parts of the world. I want to say one lady may have been from Switzerland, I believe, but we were all assigned to intercede at our wall. I was assigned to train a little 13-year-old boy. I don't know this boy in the natural, but I knew that he was 13 and he was training to intercede. There was a woman who was next to him who started to slack off of her wall. As she started engaging in what I perceived, I could see in the spirit, but she was still physically there in the house. She started to become weak in her faith and she started to slack up and come off of her wall. That created an opening in the wall, which caused a vacuum, and she was sucked out of the wall, and you could hear her scream, "Ah!" Now, in some cases, we were able to pray and take up the space and close up the area that was opened by a person. But each of us, though we had our own place on the wall, we were responsible for one another. And we had to pray because the prayers of all of us together formed a protective barrier in the house where none of us could be harmed. I could see that the little boy needed help. So I prayed on my wall, but I laid hands on his wall and he looked up at me and he began to pray as well. Now, the woman that I mentioned before had done so poorly that the house was so degraded that there was a wide opening and the enemy was able to come in and even attack the people in the house because of one person who was in the house doing the wrong thing, and they caused an opening, leaving everyone in the house susceptible to the attack. Did you hear what I just said? We are a unit, and so one man's weakness can affect the entire house. The house was so badly damaged that it was damaged beyond repair, and we had to get up and leave and go to another house. We began to pray in that house and on the walls, and then my aunt was outside with her hands raised, lifted, and she was beginning to feel tired as she was lifting up the outside of the house while we were inside of the house interceding to keep the walls up. She needed help, and so some of us had to go out and begin to lift her up in prayer, to hold her arms up as she was assigned outside of the house to intercede on the outside, the perimeter, to keep the outside safe, while we were assigned to the inside of the house to keep the walls of the inside safe. Intercession is important. It is an important part of our walk. Intercessors are on the front line. Intercession may not be a glamorous job, but it is very needed. It is a behind the scenes job that is needed for the house. A house divided cannot stand. Our intercession is necessary for the walls of the house to be strong. We may not be able to see the effects of intercession and prayer in the natural, but in the spirit realm, prayers make a difference. We must be fervent in prayer, consistent in prayer. The enemy is looking for an opening. He's looking for a crack. I got revelation of the spirit of rebellion against the child. Intercede for them. The enemy is using them to destroy the house, not only the physical house, but their spiritual house and your house as well, because they are being used to wear you down, to isolate them, and to destroy them. It's a divide and conquer tactic. We must continue fervent in prayer to keep our children safe and our house safe. Your prayers and intercessions, they do matter. I'm going to cut this short here. Please share this. Be in prayer. And I pray that you receive a revelation of this. Leave your comments of anything that you have by way of a revelation that you want to share with all of us regarding this matter. Until the next video, shalom.